Hey guys, I've gotten lots of requests about travel deals, and this is actually one of my favorite things to look up and to find deals on, because I started couponing back in 2013, but I actually took a break for a few years. Like, I lived with my ex and we had a budget and stuff because we had to pay so many bills. But then whenever I moved out and I got this tiny little apartment where I didn't have to pay as many bills, I didn't really have to coupon as much. And then I kind of got bored because after a while, getting the same laundry detergent and getting paper towels every week or whatever, getting the same stuff over and over again was getting boring. So I took a break for a few years, and then one day I decided that I was going to attempt to bump it up a little bit and try to get free trips. Because I was like, if you can get all this other stuff for free that people tell you can't get for free, which you can, why not be able to get travel for free? So I started looking it up, and it's definitely a real thing. Most of it has to do with credit card stuff, which I didn't really ever plan on talking about, but if you guys are interested in hearing about that, let me know in the comments, because I can tell you how to get trips for free. But how to just get deals on travel, super easy. I do it all the time. I went to from Chicago to China, what do you call it, round trip, nonstop, that's what I was thinking of, nonstop from Chicago to China, $500 round trip. I've gone from St. Louis to Phoenix, Arizona, for $40 round trip. I've flown from Chicago to Florida for $40 round trip. Super easy for me to get from Chicago to New York for $100 round trip. New York to tons of places in Europe for just $300 round trip, stuff like that. That's pretty normal for me whenever someone says they fly, let's say they fly somewhere in the United States to somewhere else in the United States for $200 to $300 round trip. That's just so expensive to me, because $300, that'll get me to Mexico, that'll get me to Europe. If you're on the West Coast, that might even get you to maybe somewhere in Asia, maybe, just depends. So today I'm going to show you how to find those super cheap flight deals. There's two websites that I recommend. One of them is Google Flights and one of them is Skyscanner. I'm going to show you how to use both of these websites. I use Google Flights whenever I know what day I need to go somewhere. So if I'm I have to be in New York the weekend of May 3rd, something like that, whatever, I use Google Flights. But if I'm I don't know where I want to go, I just want to go somewhere super cheap, but I don't know, I can go whenever, I get on Skyscanner. So I will show you why, and yeah, so let's go. Also, I forgot to mention, before I start showing you all of this in this video, I want to let you know that the best day to book a flight is on a Tuesday. You don't have to fly on a Tuesday, just buy your tickets on a Tuesday because they're the cheapest, and you'll usually find more airfare deals on Tuesdays. Now, with that said, let's go. Okay, so I'm going to show you Google Flights first. You literally just have to type in google.com/flights, and it will take you to this page. What you're going to do is you're going to pick your airport. I live in between multiple airports, so some people don't like to drive a long distance, so you might want to just pick whatever is closest to you. But me, if I'm going on a big trip, I don't care to go a little bit of an extra distance to save a little bit of money. So I live closest to St. Louis, but after researching and seeing the difference between the prices of the different airports I'm around, I am much willing to take a train to Chicago. And you have to realize St. Louis is about an hour away from me, and Chicago is about 4 hours away from me. So I'm willing to go an extra 3 hours because that airport is much bigger, and usually the bigger the airport, the more money you're going to save. So let's say you live in a little, well, not little if you're around like LA or something, but if you're around LA and you have like not a well-known airport around you, but you are still close enough to go to LA, like go to LAX first, because that's going to be one of the cheaper ones in that area because it's such a big airport. So here I'm going to just show you the difference to just make it make sense. So I live closest to St. Louis, so I'm going to type in St. Louis, and I'm going to pretend like I need to go visit my best friend. She lives in New York, so New York City. So what you can do here is, for example, I really like LaGuardia because I'm just used to flying out of LaGuardia whenever I visit her. But if I want to find the best deal, I want to click on all airports. If you're really particular, you can just click on a specific airport, but I wouldn't do that if you're looking to save money. I would click on all airports. And then you're going to pick what day. So what's going to happen is you're going to see all these numbers. You can do one of two things. If you have a specific date that you need to go like on a trip on, so let's say for example I have to go to New York the 16th through the 19th. Okay, so see that 237, that's going to be the cheapest flight that I can get. So when I press done, you'll find here's that 237. So it'll tell you the number, that's round trip, and it says below that it's not round trip. So sometimes you might see this little icon. That means you cannot get a free carry-on. So typically I try to avoid those if you're gonna have a carry-on. A lot of times I just take a backpack because backpacks are considered a personal item, and personal items are free on all airlines as of today. But it looks like United does not give us the free carry-on for this flight. Usually if you're going international, you'll get that free carry-on, but this is not international. So we have 3 different airlines to choose from for the same price. We've got American Airlines, United, and Delta, which is right here. Like if you open it up, I just know the symbols. So what's different is they have different times. So you can see here the times, and it will be specific times for this price. You won't get any time you want for this price. Typically, it's much cheaper on the times that people aren't flying. So let's say like pretty much anytime I want to go to Las Vegas is a 24-hour airport. So if I try to fly to Las Vegas, my flights are going to be at like midnight because nobody flies at midnight. So they're trying to fill up the planes as much as they can, so they sell the tickets really, really cheap. So that's just an example. So here you've got the times. So you pick whatever is best for you or whichever airline you like better. Remember when you are flying, if you fly a lot, you should have an account with, I have an account with like everyone. Like almost all the airlines, I have a reward system because I never know who I'm going to fly with because I fly based on the best deal. So for me, if I were to choose between one of these 3, I personally would choose United just because I have a lot more United points because every time I've gone out of the country, I've flown with United, and they have given me lots of points for flying with them. So it might be different for you. You might fly American Airlines all the time. So you want to use the same airline as much as you can for your reward points. But if you don't have reward points yet, then that won't matter. But just keep that in mind that almost every airline has reward points, which over time will get you free flights. So with that said, so then you have this. This is going to tell you how long your flight's going to be. So this is just the departing flight. Okay, so like you're going to leave at 12:18 p.m., get to New York at 3:45 p.m. So once I click on that, I'm going to pretend that I need American Airlines or whatever. So now this is my returning flights. So the only airline I can fly back with to get that $237 price is going to be American Airlines, and I have multiple times to choose from this time. And you can see here that also they're all non-stop flights, which means you're not going to have to stop and have any layovers, which is always really nice. If you see this one stop, that means there is a layover, which will make the time longer. And typically you can look at here, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what airport that is. So this is Charlotte, this is Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. You have Philadelphia. Yeah, anyways. So if you go down here, like these are other. So these are under like the more expensive flights. So here you can see it bumped it up from $237 to $244, $246, which really isn't that bad. But why have those when these are way better? Because they're nonstop and cheaper, right? So, reminder, like I said at the beginning, my going out of St. Louis is way more expensive from going out of Chicago. So I'm going to keep those same dates, and I'm going to change this, and we're still going to New York. I'm going to change this to ORD, which is Chicago. It's the biggest airport in Chicago that I typically fly out of. Now the price is down to $127. Okay, so it's not really that much cheaper. So it actually, this is a really rare occasion. It would have been, it's way better for me to fly out of St. Louis because I don't get that carry-on, and the flights are really limited because they're really early in the morning, but they're still non-stop. So, actually, wait, was it $127? No, it was like $200, wasn't it? I'm so dumb. Sorry. Yeah, it's way cheaper. It's $128. I was thinking it said. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I was right. Flying out of Chicago is way cheaper. Even with all the same airlines, you got United, Delta, American Airlines for $177 instead of flying out of St. Louis and having to pay $240. So that is what you would do for specific flights, okay? So now I'm going to show you how to use Google Flights for whenever you are flexible with your dates. So you're going to go back up here. So now we're still at Chicago to New York, and we're going to look at the calendar. I'm just going to click on the dates. So these numbers that you see popping up, so like here's an 85, okay? Every number you see, as long as you have this right here set to round trip, these numbers you see are going to be round trip prices. So this $85 is round trip, but it's based off of your what you have clicked for your departure. So I have the 16th clicked first and the 19th clicked second. So that means if I leave on the 16th and I decide not to come back on the 19th and I come back on the 29th instead, oops, see now it changed to the 100 because I changed the departure date. So I'm going to click on the 16th and then I'm going to go to the 29th. Oh, it changed a little. It's still a lot cheaper. I don't know why I did that. So it gives me the option of choosing how much I want to pay based off like what days. So maybe instead I want to fly out on the 8th and come back on the 15th. Bam, it's $85 round trip. Maybe I want to fly out in a different month. What am I doing? Why is it doing this? Oh, wrong button. Fly out in a different month. So here we have February. I can click the 1st, and I can come back on the 5th, the 8th, the 12th, and only pay $85 round trip. And you can just keep doing that. Just click on random days. And see, it's getting more expensive. Whenever you hit summertime, the closer and closer you are to summer, the more and more expensive it's going to be, because more people fly during the summer, so they don't really need to fill up the planes as much with because they don't really have as many empty seats, so that means they can charge more. And the reason why more people fly in the summer is because, you know, summer break, people aren't in school, people are getting time off at work and stuff like that, family vacations. So the more and more you get to summertime, the more expensive it's gonna be. So this is just Google Flights. Hopefully this all makes sense. Like I said, I use this site whenever I know exactly what day I need to go somewhere. So let me show you Skyscanner now. Okay, for Skyscanner, you're literally just going to type in skyscanner.com, press enter, and it's going to look like this. So for this one, I like this one because it gives you the option of choosing a place rather than just choosing what day is the cheapest. Like, it puts everything together, and typically whenever I travel randomly, so I never really know where I'm gonna go. I'm one of those kind of people where it's like, the place is gonna choose me. That's kind of what happened whenever I went to China. So so here I'm not gonna click St. Louis because St. Louis, actually I'll show you the difference. So St. Louis, so what you can do here, now you can do the same thing we did before. You can type in New York, and you can go through all that, and it's going to be almost the same exact thing you just saw on Google Flights. But what Skyscanner has that Google Flights doesn't, that I know of, is you can just click on this button that says can't decide where, and then you can either pick a day specifically, and I'll show you that first, I guess. So we'll just go the 23rd to the 27th, something random. And it will show you a whole list of everywhere in the world, almost, of where you can go on those dates and how much it's going to cost. So if I want to go in the United States from St. Louis on those dates, the cheapest I'm going to spend is $40, round trip, okay? This is not one way. This $40 is round trip to Jackson, Tennessee. And you just scroll down and the prices will get more and more expensive. I can go to Georgia for $100 round trip. I can go to Orlando, Florida for $117 round trip on those specific dates. But personally, I like to go to where it says depart and click whole month. And then I'm going to press on find cheapest month. So it's going to calculate the cheapest flights from each of these locations all year round. So I can fly to Kentucky for $20 round trip. I'm not really sure how accurate that is, but just scroll down. Nashville for $67 round trip. Las Vegas for $85 round trip, etc., etc. Most of these flights that are that cheap are going to be with Spirit Airlines, or any other budget airline like Spirit. But what I love is I can also do other countries. I like just going everywhere. I can go to Canada for $190 round trip, China for $338. Let's see how accurate that is, because sometimes it's not right. I will be honest. Like, they update everything every few days, and airline prices change like hourly, not just daily. Hourly prices will change based on as soon as people book a flight on an airline, the rest of the seats that are open get like a little bit more expensive. The more and more they book the more and more they get more people to get on an airplane, the more you're gonna spend on like those last few seats, if that makes sense. So what was I doing? Oh, China. So I'm gonna click on this and see if it's accurate. So we're gonna click on the place we want to go. So now you see the monthly view. So this is different compared to Google Flights. Okay, so typically it will take you to the cheapest month. So here you can see that I don't see anything that looks remotely near $300, because these, once you see this $376, once you get to the monthly view, these are now a one-way tickets, I guess, one-way prices. because this month right here, see, they both see January, because this one is depart, so this is how much you're going to pay for the departure flight, and then return, these are what you're going to pay for the return. So whenever you click on depart, it's going to change the prices over here, because round trip tickets are kind of like a combo deal a lot of the time. So I'm going to click on the cheapest one over here. So it's $215, and now we have $214. So it's not $338, but your total is going to be $429, which honestly from St. Louis is not bad to get to China. So let's see if that is accurate. So let's see if at this point, once you get to this screen, this is the screen that's going to tell you 100% accurate prices. There's no guessing, nothing. Nothing that's outdated, nothing from 3 days ago. Anything you see on here is going to be able to be booked. Okay, so it's still thinking a little bit. Okay, so it has now gone through all of these airlines on the left-hand side there to find the cheapest price. So you have three options. You have the best option. So this is going to be between, you know, being able to have a carry-on, the how much or how long it takes to get there, best seats, stuff like that. Cheapest is going to be probably the ones with the longest layovers and like budget airlines, and you're gonna, I don't probably have to fly in the middle of the night, stuff like that. But like those are the prices you pay to get the cheapest, which I mean sometimes I'm willing to do, so I don't really care. And then the fastest. So I'm gonna look at the cheapest because that's who I am as a person. So here you're going to see the price or the airline that you would be flying with. So this is CLM. If I had to guess, it would be a Malaysia type of airline. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that airline. That was like I was thinking of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That's probably what airline that's from, which I've been there, so that might be an okay airline. Do your research before you book. But for this, in this case, I don't know this airline, but I do know Delta. Very familiar with Delta. It's a little bit longer to take Delta, but it's only, what, like not even $10 more for Delta, and I'm familiar with Delta. I have Delta reward points, so taking this one might be the better one for me if I'm willing to fly that extra 5 hours, which kind of sounds terrible, but whatever. It just depends on what kind of person you are and how you think of it in your head, because everybody has their own opinions. If I was willing to like take that risk, I probably would take the Kuala Lumpur Malaysia Airlines CLM. So this is just an example, but typically, like I said, St. Louis is expensive, so let me show you some really popular airlines that may be near you. So I'm just going to use New York first, because New York has a lot of deals to Europe. Like a lot. And I'm going to show you the cheapest month out of the year to show you how cheap you can go places. Now, as you saw with the Beijing one, on this page, it told us Beijing was like, what, $338 round trip. But whenever we finally got to the last page, it ended up being $420 something. So there is, this page might not be 100% accurate, but most of the time I do find this to be pretty accurate. So New York and to Spain, $219 round trip. So that's Madrid. Let's see how accurate that is. Because $200 round trip to Europe doesn't sound too bad, right? So yeah, this looks pretty freaking accurate because look at all of these numbers. So let's just pick January 12th to January 21st. $227 round trip. Now we get to this page. Drop down to 300, we're getting closer. I'll just wait a little bit longer. Any minute now. For those of you that can't tell, I'm waiting for this number to get to 55. Because it needs to go through all the airlines before it chooses the best one. And it's taking an excessive amount of time for some reason. Why is it taking so long? What is wrong with Delta? Like, it's stopping at Delta. What's wrong, Delta? Okay, it's done. Okay, so the cheapest is $300. Oh, no, it dropped down to $219. Okay. So you have Finnair. Actually, you have multiple airlines that cheap. If you're sketched out trying new airlines, maybe do some research. But $219, if you do your research and one of these airlines has decent reviews, remember that people get really fed up with airlines, especially budget airlines. So whenever you go online and you see reviews of airlines saying that they suck and whatnot, and oh, they overcharged me, make sure to read into their comments, because a lot of people don't realize that you have to like pay extra for baggage, and then by the time they get to the airport, they didn't pay for their baggage online, and then they get to the airport and they're like, oh, sorry, we're gonna have to charge you $100. And there's like so many bullshit fees if you don't do everything up front whenever you're booking your ticket with budget airlines. And a lot of people like to blame that on the airlines, when in reality they just didn't do their research very well. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at reviews of different airlines. But if you're seeing reviews, like a lot of reviews saying that maybe like the flight was canceled and they were stranded and stuff like that might be a little sketchy. But other than that, like sometimes bad reviews are just people who don't do their research. So yeah, $219 round trip from New York to Madrid on January, what did I say, 12th to January 21st. Stuff like this is normal. Like, this is what I think of when I think of flying to Europe. I think this cheap of flights. So I'm gonna go back, because New York to everywhere. So let's go to a different airport. Now let's do LAX, really popular airport. Lots of people live in California. So let's see if there's any how cheap it is to get to Asia. Taiwan, $350. I don't know how accurate that is. The Philippines, I would love to go to the Philippines. Thailand, let's try Thailand. Let's see what it says for Thailand. Let's see how accurate this is. Bangkok. Okay, so yeah, we've got multiple in March. March is actually, I feel like, is a good time to go. I might be lying. Always make sure you Google a country's weather before you go there, because not every country has weather similar to where you are living, just so you know. Okay, so let's say I want to go from March 19th to okay, so sometimes this happens. Sometimes it has March and then April. Please pay attention to that, because if you're wanting to be in the same month, you might get mixed up, because sometimes it is cheaper to leave in one month and come back in another month, which is why it automatically sets it like this. So I'm going to go back to March, and some of the days are going to change price because I just kind of switched it up a little on them, but still $381. Yeah, that's what it showed. So let's see if it goes through with that on this page. Down to 400 already. From LA to, what was this, Bangkok, Thailand. And once you get to another country, so for example, once you fly to Europe, flights are so cheap around Europe. Once you get to Asia, it's so cheap around Asia. I flew to multiple different countries when I was in Asia, and some of my flights were only like $20 one way, super cheap. It's just expensive getting over the large seas. So yeah, here we have cheapest is $382. I've actually flown with them before, I believe. I think I flew with them whenever I was flying from Malaysia, I think. Oh wait, that's the $1,000 one. Oh, don't look at that. Don't look at that. You don't want to pay $1,000. Okay, I am not familiar with this airline. Air China, I flew with them whenever I was in Singapore. I'm pretty sure I flew from Singapore to Malaysia with that airline. Either that or to Indonesia. So that they were good. I liked flying with them actually, Air China. So that's $400 to get to Asia from America, round trip. So just keep this in mind whenever you're looking at stuff. Obviously, I'm showing you really exotic flights, but it's just an example to show you just how cheap things can be, and why whenever people talk to me and tell me how much they're paying for flights, I'll usually like cringe a little, because when people spend crazy amounts of money on flights, I don't get it. I don't understand. I can tell that they haven't fully researched how to get cheap flights. So hopefully those people come to this video and watch this video before they book their flights, because this is probably the best way that I know how to get cheap airfare. I know this video was a little bit longer than my normal videos, but I wanted to make sure that I got everything in there, because traveling is really one of the more expensive things that people spend money on. So you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing whenever you're booking travel. Obviously, this is only for flights. I know some other websites for taking buses and stuff like that. I'm still in the process of learning about cruises because I've never been on a cruise. So I don't have full details on that, but I would like to learn, and whenever I do, I will share that with you guys. Obviously, I want to try it before I tell you, because you guys know I'm like, I don't know, like antsy about that, I guess. So, but I totally recommend these. They work. I've used them multiple times. And they can be confusing at times, so like always, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments below and I will try to answer them the best I can. But yeah, thanks for watching this longer video. Bye.